If SpaceX can indeed deliver on the promise, that will be an investment that people will like to make. And ultimately, given the different opportunities to invest in Australian equities, we don't necessarily have the same global growth leaders like we do in the US. SpaceX will be a very attractive proposition for Australians.
Welcome. There is a lot of buzz about the IPO of SpaceX, so much so that the Nasdaq is fast-tracking the company's entry to the Nasdaq 100 index. Is the hype deserved?
SpaceX is an incredible company, and in terms of an individual, Elon Musk has certainly been one that's broken ground. SpaceX, I think they're really revolutionised the way we think about how space as an environment can be used. And I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that they are deserving of these headlines because they're really revolutionising what we might use space for. But it's also an area where people are very excited. Talking about rockets firing up to space and what that might mean. That's something that captures everyone's attention.
Now, it's not just rockets. It even says it wants to build data centres in space. Right now, is that genuine ambition? Is it realistic, or is it simply fanciful?
Elon is a very ambitious man, so that's obviously not beyond him to put something like that out there. I think right now when we look at SpaceX as an organisation, the two key drivers of growth, certainly in the immediate term, will be Starlink, which is their satellite network that provides broadband coverage. Its revenue is growing at over 50%, and it's already got more than 10 million individual subscribers. So Starlink is clearly one of their growth engines. And then their AI on the ground within the domain of Earth is obviously another business which is doing really well. And they've signed a massive deal with Anthropic to use their Colossus One data centres, which is a deal which may generate $15 billion per annum. So that's the here and now. As to whether or not we're able to see data centres in space, I think we'll have to wait a little bit longer for that to eventuate.
Do you think it's going to be able to justify a $2 trillion market cap?
I think that looking at the market cap, the price to sales ratios are through the roof right now, but the growth and the potential is there. It's a space where having the leading technology platform in terms of the rockets that SpaceX have gives them an edge. And if you think about the applications of ground connectivity to their low Earth orbit satellite network in Starlink, really is unparalleled. So they've got around about 10,000 of these satellites orbiting the Earth's atmosphere, and we're already starting to see the applications, be it through the provision of Wi-Fi when you're on a plane, better Wi-Fi than what we used to see, or indeed in an environment like in the early days of Ukraine when Russia took out the Ukrainian satellite network. Elon's really been able to re-envisage what Wi-Fi connectivity and the use of satellites might mean altogether. So I wouldn't put it past him to have hit on another winner, as he has in previous cases with regards to Tesla, for example.
The timing's interesting, isn't it? Because for Australian investors looking at the ASIC right now, post-budget and CGT changes, they are considering value versus growth when it comes to equities. But it does sound as though, as far as potential shareholders of SpaceX are concerned, this is an opportunity about long-term growth rather than returns in the short or even medium term.
That's absolutely right. You should see this as something where if you're going to invest, you're looking for capital growth. Look, while right now there's a real narrative, if these tax changes come in, that investors will seek to prioritise income, or maybe better off using income-oriented investing rather than growth-oriented investing, there's no substitute for an asset that can deliver superior returns, even net of those tax consequences. So if SpaceX can indeed deliver on the promise, that will be an investment that people will like to make. And ultimately, given the different opportunities to invest in Australian equities, we don't necessarily have the same global growth leaders like we do in the US. SpaceX will be a very attractive proposition for Australians.
How do you see the share price performing after launch? Could a mega valuation pose real risks for that price in the short term, or could it see a bit of an uplift because passive index funds will essentially be forced to buy it?
I think it'll be interesting. We have seen with previous mega IPOs a little bit of volatility once we've seen that initial listing. I think of an IPO like Facebook before they became Meta. Ultimately, that listing only involves a small portion of the overall market capitalisation of the overall SpaceX shares on issue. So I guess it will be interesting to see. It may well create some demand that I think a lot of investors will be looking to jump on initially. But over time, these companies mature and we sort of forget about the fact that they came from the private markets. Look, indeed, overall, I think that while there will be support from investors in the Nasdaq 100, that is is an index which is passively tracked. Overall, the long-term fundamentals of the business are what's going to dominate the overall returns, rather than whether we see sort of passive buying or active buying.
What do you believe the rationale is for SpaceX in offering an Australian prospectus, given that this hasn't happened for such a big IPO previously? Australian
investors, while they may be looking to participate in SpaceX, it's really, I guess, about the access of US investors, which will dominate. We're really involved in a capital raising which is unprecedented in terms of its scale, and so if you think about the institutions and the investment banks who are leading this charge, their ability to sell their services as someone who can raise capital from all over the world will have been very attractive to Elon and SpaceX and the original holders. And so, given that this IPO is so unprecedented, it's not surprising that we're seeing a few new approaches to how they might look to distribute stock.
And just finally, in relation to the man himself, Elon Musk, I mean, it's not just SpaceX, he's also got Tesla and the social media platform X. Is he going to be spread too thinly?
Well, he's a workaholic, isn't he? He's shown thus far that he's been able to run these independent businesses. There are some theories that he may well look to indeed provide, some sort of opportunity to merge the companies once SpaceX is listed further down the line. There are poly markets and odds on that happening. Thus far he's shown that he's been able to build strong teams beneath him and operate across all three of these businesses. But in some senses there is a degree to which that technology and the learning that he's had in one organisation has helped him to build another. So while he remains able to work seemingly 24/7, while he's able to build strong teams in these independent organisations, perhaps the net benefit of information transfer, knowledge transfer across these different organisations will actually continue to help him in terms of him building out these individual companies.
It'll be interesting. Cameron Gleeson, thank you.
Thanks, Kirsten.